Great. Welcome to the April 29th meeting for the Governance Committee for the San Juan County Charter Review Commission. We will be meeting and hopefully finishing up most of our work tonight. Let's take some roll. David Deldendorf.
I'm here.
Olivia Roseberry.
Here.
Dick Grout.
Here.
Tony Gazelle.
Present.
Kevin Ranker. Nice. That's the hanging loose. And then Janet Brunell.
I am here. I have low Wi-Fi, so my picture is a beautiful sunset, but I am here.
Thank you for coming. I don't think that's Palm Springs, that picture. And then so far we do not have Jane Fuller. I hope she can join us. I have not heard from her, so we will proceed forward. I assume everybody has received the minutes, and is there any comment?
I move we adopt.
Oh, I did have one.
Actually did too, but
and I should have written it down.
Janet, did you have one you said?
yeah. So I think it was on something. It had to do with obviously the Visitors Bureau thing. It was the part about, and I'm trying to get to it. Just trying to tone down a little bit of what I said about the feelings on Orcas. It sounded more draconian than it was, David. I mean, it was like, because of this is happening. I'm trying to find the minutes.
I could read to you.
Yeah, can you read it, what it said? Yeah, thank you.
Brownell explained that the idea for transferring tourism promotion management from the Visitors Bureau to the county government is a result of general dissatisfaction with the impact of today's excessive. No, wait a minute. That's not where it starts. Okay, starts with the general displeasure with the impact of today's excessive tourism on the everyday activities of local residents, as well as widespread dissatisfaction with the Visitors Bureau's activities in mid-2020 when it continued to widely promote tourism to our county at the same time that the public and county health officials were attempting to discourage visits to our county and to better protect us from COVID-19.
I would just take widespread. My feeling was there was certainly on Orcas, but I don't know how it was felt on other islands. So I don't know if there was widespread. I would just say dissatisfaction with.
Okay. I will take out widespread.
Thank you.
And mine, I found it was where the minutes referred to affordable housing. I would say, I would put in the word targeted affordable housing, because we talked about worker housing. We talked about some other
seasonal.
So
seasonal.
I think seasonal. So seasonal, targeted, something like that should modify it. So somebody reading it doesn't just go, what? They want to spend the lodging tax money on affordable housing?
Well, targeted for the tourist industry employees, right?
Well, I mean,
seasonal workers.
Seasonal, yeah, something that just modifies it so it's clear. It's not just anything.
So it's 10 lines up.
The discussion was specifically about seasonal worker housing, which is the only allowable housing used for those funds.
And I think it's there twice. So just, David, we don't have to do it now. Just find those two places and put that in there.
Okay, I will do that, and I'll send it to Dave for final distribution.
I would move.
And by the way, David, great job on the minutes. Otherwise, it was good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
David, a continuing good job. I would move that we adopt the minutes with those two changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. David, thank you so much for doing that. That was you're doing some great work for us. So I hope everybody got the agenda, the change of the agenda that we're the commission's chairman and vice chairman are trying to crack the whip, and I'm thankful that they're here to help us move our work forward. So tonight, hopefully we can finish up with the amendments that Tony Gazelle and Kevin Riker have written for us, and also look at Janet's proposal and finish, get at least hopefully a way to move forward on that, or maybe vote on it tonight if that's something we want to move forward. And I hope we can spend a little time looking at our the spreadsheet and seeing if it's something we're ready to present to the full commission. So Olivia?
So after yesterday's meeting, we had to take a look and be really realistic about our timeline. And this is our last assigned governance committee meeting. So on the 5th of May, we have been asked to present our full findings to the commission for what we want to move forward with the commission, so we can be a full commission to debate, move things forward, decline, whatever the process ends up being on May 5th. That's the last, that's when we need to present everything. So technically this would be our last committee meeting, just to put that on the table. And I know that David has been working really hard on this spreadsheet. And so that's what we're going to need to present, similar to what Patty presented yesterday, just a basic spreadsheet, so we can now move to the full commission with anything that our governance committee decides to present.
Thank you. Yeah. The one issue that we might have that going forward in terms of the sustainable tourism, or we have Jane, is that we have made an appointment to have Deborah Hopkins speak with us next week, a week from tonight.
Hoskinson.
Hoskinson.
Her
Oh,
name is-
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got it written down there wrong. And we're hoping to listen to her, share with her what we're talking about in terms of sustainable tourism. She did offer to meet with us on Saturday. That's a day that we could have a quick meeting on Saturday if we so choose, or we could move. I'm thinking we could move the proposal forward and just move it forward in a way that we say we're discussing it, but we're not. We don't have a vote of the full governance committee yet to really fully embrace it. So that's kind of where we're at. Kevin.
So Dave, I was just going to interject. I think
Okay.
David found out that she can't actually meet on Saturday because her daughter is graduating from college. I don't know where she's graduating. She can't meet on Saturday.
Okay.
So her only date actually is Thursday. So
Okay.
my recommendation to Dave was we bring our proposal forward and say, this is our proposal. We still need to hear from the Business Bureau. This may change it, but this is what it's going to be now. We do not want you to vote, and Kevin, you can weigh in on this. We do not want you to vote on this particular thing until we hear from Deb Hoskinson about this. Because until we hear from her, I don't think we can. She may bring forward information that may change all of our minds, and we may say, oh, we don't want to do this at all.
Kevin, and then Dick.
No,
I got nothing. I would rather we actually vote on it, but I don't want to vote before hearing from Deborah.
Thank you.
Olivia and I need to have a sidebar, and I know Olivia is gonna like throw something at me, but I'm wondering if we can juggle this committee with another committee, so that this committee goes 2 weeks back or something.
Well,
Look
what
at
I
the
was
calendar.
proposing- I was proposing, Dave, is everything else other than this, and we bring this forward. Just everything else can be voted on except this one thing, and we come back to this one thing. But I think governance can go forward on everything else we have.
Okay, thank you. Dick, and then Olivia.
well, the other thing we can do is if we have time, and I question whether we will, but if we have time, we also vote on the Visitors Bureau tonight, but we do it on the basis that it's conditional on hearing Deborah.
That's what I told Dave. That's exactly what I told Dave.
At least so we know where we are unless we hear something that's, significantly different.
Correct. But I think there needs to be a caveat that we voted this forward. We haven't had this last piece of information. Something completely changes our mind, we'll come back to the CRC.
Yeah, But if nothing, my point is that if nothing does change our mind, we are ready to go because
Yeah.
we've made the decision. That's what I want to accomplish.
Okay. Olivia, Kevin, and Jane, in that order, Olivia?
Really simple solution would be to just pause until we hear from her next Thursday on just this topic. We don't need to take a vote at all. There's going to be time on the May 19 after process, because process has already presented quite a bit of information. And I think that if everyone does their homework, we'll be able to get through their topic pretty quickly. And I think we could tag it on to the end of that meeting. So
Sorry, Olivia, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Kevin, please.
Thank you.
that's all I had to say.
Olivia, you're saying the May 19th meeting of the full commission.
Yes.
And this committee would not need to present on the 5th next week. We would present on the 19th and therefore give us time to hear from Deborah and then have a final meeting where we vote.
I was actually just suggesting just this one topic. That was my suggestion.
This one topic would come back on the 19th.
Yeah.
Just this topic.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just the one topic.
yeah, I agree.
Then I would say, okay, I'll wait until my turn.
Well, Kevin, go ahead. But
Was somebody else before me?
oh, well, it was Olivia, you, and then Jane.
Okay, so with that information, thank you, Olivia, you're a goddess.
It's all right here.
I would suggest that we move through tonight, all of it, go over the Visitors Bureau, but we do not vote. I actually think that waiting to hold a vote until after we've spoken to her, waiting to hold the entire vote instead of just voting and saying we're going to maybe reconsider. I think it's better if we don't vote on it tonight and then we just have a 2-minute meeting or something if something's changed or we want more discussion before the 19th.
Okay. Jane and then David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought about this in the last week since our last meeting, and it could complicate things a bit. So none of you may like this, but in the interest of hearing from stakeholders, diverse stakeholders, I am not concerned, but I'm aware of the fact that we haven't consulted with any chambers of commerce who will be impacted by this decision, based on what we heard from the presentation that Janet made last week. And so I'm conscious of not wanting to annoy and upset people. And so in the course of the last week, it just struck me that it could be interesting to hear from chambers of commerce that actually the business members who are, or the business owners who are members of those chambers may have a particular view on such a decision that's put forward to the voters. Now, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't feel strongly about this. I'm just in the course of the work that we're doing on justice and equity. Actually, I'm just realizing stakeholder consultations are important. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. David?
Yeah, I agree with Kevin and Olivia that we should wait to vote on this until we've had Deborah in. I think it's just a little messy to vote and then say we'll reconsider after the meeting. We're not under a time pressure, as Olivia pointed out, if Kevin is willing to give us that dispensation. Jane, I like your idea about the chambers. Are they, let me just ask a question of Janet, how are they impacted financially if the money that was going to the Visitors Bureau for promotion instead goes through the county? They're not getting any of that. The chamber's not getting any of that money. The chambers aren't getting any of that money, are they?
So,
How are they?
In
Yeah, Janet?
full
Quickly.
disclosure, I'm married to the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce on Orcas. So,
What? I'm just kidding.
Oh man, are you kidding me? What's going on? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
So the chambers do get lodging tax money. It is not reliant on the Visitors Bureau. So the Visitors Bureau has an actual contract with the county. The chambers of commerce apply for lodging tax money. So it's a different situation. So what we're talking about is changing the contract with the county. So it's not going to a visitors bureau. It's now going to be within the county, and that money stays to fund whatever that is within. It should, so bottom line is, Jane, it shouldn't affect the Chamber of Commerce's at all, much. I mean, it'll change a little bit, but in terms of funding, it won't change their money situation at all.
Okay.
Mr.
I think
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, can I just have
one
a quick
second.
follow? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's Kevin and then Olivia and then Jane, or is there something that dealing with?
It was just a quick follow-on to
Okay.
that, related to the question that I raised. So thank you for that, Janet. And what was, you know, sort of spurring my thinking about this was the realization that business owners benefit from the visitors bureaus doing advertising for them. And
Yes,
so,
yes.
and so that what I'm conscious of is business owners getting really annoyed by the fact that their ability to do that is going to change. And so it's a bit, I guess it would be a bit about awareness raising too, right? So so that's why I'm acknowledging I'm not that well informed, but I'm just
So
asking.
there are two things that can happen. One is the existing Visitors Bureau, which is actually the San Juan Business Association doing business as a Visitors Bureau because they have a contract, can still take membership. They can stay as an entity, and businesses can still buy memberships into whatever that entity is and do it. By the way, the chambers are already have memberships for those businesses and are promoting those businesses through the chamber. And in an ideal world, and now we're kind of getting a discussion about the plan, is if the county took this on, they would say, if you have a question about businesses, go visit the local chambers of commerces on these islands to find out what the restaurants are, what the hotels are on all these islands. And if the San Juan Business Bureau, DBA, now the Business Bureau, stayed in business, they could still be a marketing agency for those businesses.
All right. So I'm wondering if this is something we can take up and discuss a little further on May 6th. I think that's
Yes.
sounds like something we it sounds like a good discussion we can have then. Is there any more further comment? Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. All those, should we can by consensus move forward? David, did you have something important to say?
I would say that if we have time after covering the proposed amendments to 4.20, 4.40, and 2.60, if we have time, we might go over Jane's write-up just to gain some input and take advantage of the time we might have today.
Or Janet's write-up.
Yeah.
I meant Janet. I'm sorry, I meant Janet.
Okay.
Jane and I are often confused.
I know, it's incredible.
So I suggest we go ahead with these three other amendments, and then if we have time, talk about Janet's write-up.
Okay. I would also like to have a little bit of time looking at the spreadsheet.
I thought I got confused with Jane.
Okay.
You do, Mr. CRC Chair, you do. Yes, but now clearly David does as well, but never mind.
Yeah, David and I get confused all the time. So let's move on to the, we will look at this issue on the May 6th issue. And if we have some time later today, maybe we'll look at I would like to look at our spreadsheet a bit today, make sure it's something that we are ready to present to the full commission and that it's something we feel good about. And it's something we're ready to go forward with. But let's look at our agenda today. Let's go forward with 420, Amendment 420, presented to us by Tony. Tony? Oops, you're muted. You're muted, Tony.
Yeah, hold on, please. I'm trying to find the document. Oops, wrong. Hold on, please. I'm trying to find the document. I thought I had it.
Do we all have it in front of us, though?
Do you have it in
Yes.
front of you?
I have it in front of me. Did
I
anybody
have it.
I know.
we may.
Yeah, then my point here is that something that, is that document seem to be,
I don't have it.
all right, let me open it up and then I'll share it with everybody. Hold on.
They are all in Dave's email, Olivia.
Here it is. Is that too small to see?
Beautiful.
How was that? Okay, my recommendation is to add this part, which is in bold. Let me just say that as a kind of a kind of a summer review of where I'm coming from on all of this, is that it felt to me that the county council and the county manager relationship was kind of murky. And I felt that our county charter was really not current in the sense that what the county is actually doing today. And I asked the question to Dave Summers a couple of weeks ago about what he thought about the county manager, county charter, and county council situation. And he first few words out of his mouth were that the county charter that we have is really more of a commission charter as opposed to a home rule charter. So this is what I felt like, because our county council is really more of a legislative and executive. So having known all that, and I've analyzed all of that, it seems to me that if that's the case, fine, everything is good and good. But I don't think it's really a good way of running a government, because if the heads of the administrative departments are going to be appointed by the county council, then it seems to me that it's super or kind of sidesteps the authority of the county manager. Now, this may be okay in a commission form of government, but I don't think it's okay in a home rule kind of form of government. So I'd like to add this bolded sentence or bolded phrase that says the county manager pending approval by the county council, meaning that the county manager actually proposes the appointments and the county council approves it at their meeting, as they should approve budgets and appointments and all of these things. So it will make it much more cleaner for any attentive public that really pays attention to any of this stuff. It will make it cleaner to them that yes, the county manager is appointing, but the county council approves all these appointments. So that's where I go on this particular one.
Okay. Kevin and then David. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I, unfortunately, Tony, I'm not in favor of this for a few reasons. One is the structure. What Dave was referring to is the fact that for the most part, the way we've structured our charter, we should have just called them commissioners again, frankly, when we went back to 3, because they have almost all of the same duties. And a charter can do almost anything it wants, frankly. So I wouldn't say that this isn't the way a home rule charter should be. A home rule charter is however the voters decide it's going to be based on the recommendations from the CRCs. All of that said, the reason I don't support this is our county manager is, this starts for me to get into a discussion, which frankly, it looks like we're going to have now, which is, should we have a county executive who's elected? If you're giving our county manager more authority and having them not answer to the voters, in my mind, is a real problem. We already have a very strong county manager who does who advances a lot of actions with oversight from the county council. How much oversight is still remains a question for many that I've spoken to. And so I am not in favor of increasing the authority, which this does, of the county manager, unless we're going to have an elected county manager, which it looks like I said, it looks like that discussion will be coming up on the agenda. If we went that direction, this would make sense for all of the departments without approval from the county council.
Okay.
Let me, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
Tony, please. Then David.
respond for a second, please. I appreciate your interest and passion about this, Kevin, but it seems to me that how is it going to work if the county council actually appoints department heads? How does that work in reality?
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Tony, Kevin?
so the way it works now is the same way it frankly even worked when I was a county commissioner, actually, which is even back then we had an administrator who really helped us with this work. But the current process now is the way it works is the county council actually does the appointment. But frankly, what you're suggesting here in writing, some of that already happens. For the administrative departments, the county manager does a lot of the work, and James Wolf, the head of HR, do a lot of the work in recruiting, vetting, and so on. And then those people come before the county council, and the county council decides between a slate of candidates. And I think that's important because that slate then is ultimately decided. The ultimate decision rests upon the county council, who has to answer to the voters. Again, in this scenario, the county manager would most likely bring one person before them and say, I've made my choice, approve it. And the council could not approve it. And then they go back and they come back with another, but there's not a selection. So the ultimate decision is not the ultimate decision for every single administrative department, planning, public works, parks, whatever, that our voters really care about. Who runs that department would be decided upon by someone who has no answer to the voters.
Okay. David, and real quick, David, 1 second. I'm limited on who I can see now. I only have 4 windows. So if you maybe put it in chat if you want to speak. Oh, okay. There we got everybody. But yes, thank you. David.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin that ultimately it has to be very clear. It's the county council who decides on these department managers. And with the proposed wording, I find it ambiguous when you say on one breath appointed by the county manager and then in another breath approved by the county council. You've got appointed and approved. They seem to be should be mutually exclusive. I would like, and maybe dissatisfied with Kevin is consistent with what Kevin said. How would it be instead of appointed by the county manager, say proposed by the county manager, and then pending approval by the county council? So it makes it very clear the county manager is not appointing anybody. She is proposing somebody to the county council, and they issue the approval or non-approval. So I would suggest replacing appointed with proposed.
Okay. Dick and then Kevin. Oh, Dick, are you there? You're frozen, or you're frozen and muted. We're going to come back to you, okay? And then we're going to go with Kevin and then come back to you, Dick. Hopefully you can come out.
Okay. No.
Oh, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay, I turned off my video. That's why.
Great. Okay.
Yes. Now you're frozen.
Doesn't matter. We can hear you.
I agree with Kevin on this one, and I. What?
Can you hear us? We should tell us.
I said yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You said you agree with Kevin on this one. Is there more? What else that's all we've heard so far.
Just leave it at that. Quit while you're
I
ahead.
agree with Kevin on this one, and I disagree. I disagree. Stop it. I disagree with David. I would not add that language. This is another one of those micromanaging. Let the council and the manager work out those relations.
Okay. Thank you. Kevin?
I was just going to speak to David's recommendation. I think it basically does the same thing. It sets up a situation where the manager would be bringing forward potentially only one candidate, which is more like a rubber stamp instead of giving the councilmatic action the authority to the council the action to the ability to take action. So I think we leave it as is.
Okay. Are there other?
Unless folks, want to hold their thunder on this until, a few weeks from now when we talk about elected versus appointed for a manager, if that comes back.
Is there further discussion?
I just, I have to tell you that.
Let's get this done.
Get what done, Dick?
What, Tony, please go ahead.
I just want to say
Let's get through your amendments. Let's not put them.
One second, Dick. Tony has the floor. Thank you. Tony, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess we have a conceptual difference of opinion, and I'm trying to figure out if the county council is really how much of their functions are really executive related functions and how much of it is legislative functions. If we as a charter review commission is going to agree that yes, the council is doing fine the way they are, partly legislative and partly executive, then all this work is really a waste of time, because it seemed to me that initially this whole thing started because the language in the charter was a little bit murky because of the relationship between the council and the manager. In some areas, they contradict what actually happens. In some areas, they contradict other sections of the charter. Now, I've spent a lot of time looking at this stuff, and it seems that presenting a modification to it, I'm not sure if we're all on the same page, that if the council is working great and the manager is working great and the charter is nothing wrong with it in sections 2 point something something and 4 point something something, then we should even bother with this, because we're just wasting a lot of time talking about this. Because so far, I don't think there has been any traction in trying to figure out if there's a problem the way the council and the manager interact, especially how the charter says it. Now, they might interact fine now because they passed a resolution 10-2013. The resolution basically told the manager what needs to be done. With some of those resolution items are different than what the charter says they should be done. But that's their prerogative, I guess, and that's really fine. But it seems to me at a point of time when we're trying to review the charter, we should be able to say, okay, if you are practicing differently than what the charter says, we got to modify the charter somehow to make it fit the actual practice.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, hands go. Jane and then Dick. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tony, I hear what you're saying. However, what you're now introducing in terms of this resolution is one that we have not looked at in detail. Okay, and what you are inferring is that a major relook should be under consideration in terms of the executive and legislative functions of those branches of government within our county. If that's what you're suggesting, that's a far bigger look than anything we've entertained to date, and it doesn't fly with what we've been hearing in the way of presentations from various offices, both elected and departments appointed of the county government. So, you know, I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate what you're putting to us in the way of a relook, a reconsideration, or what have you. What you're proposing is rather significant, and so. You know, and it's not necessarily consistent with what we have heard is problematic. I don't agree with what you're saying in terms of our reconsideration of various sections of the charter being not relevant. I don't agree with that at all. Because and I mean, others are free to speak their minds on that, but I'm curious to know why a relook at executive and legislative functions is now just coming up at this 11th hour in a way, and how we're meant to deal with that, because it is a major revisitation of the way the charter is structured. So I'm just a bit perplexed, that's all, and it's just sort of really more a question.
Dick?
No, I'd forgotten to take my hand
Okay.
down.
Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jane's point is actually I believe, and thank you, Jane, for raising this. I believe the primary concern I have, which is making this change for me opens up 10 other changes that I'm going to want to see, or at least discuss. And so I'm willing to support this change at this time, because there needs to be a bigger discussion about councilmatic responsibilities versus managerial responsibilities that comes along with it. So Tony, I don't necessarily disagree with the point you're making. What my feeling is, however, this is part of a much larger discussion. And for me, it's frankly, I actually was not in favor of revisiting the county manager being elected versus appointed conversation at this point. But I'm starting to lean towards saying, maybe we do need to have that discussion, because what that will raise is that relationship. And it may be that the commission doesn't ultimately decide to make them appointed or elected or either, whatever, but at least we vet that entire discussion. It's also interesting to me, and Tony, I'm sure you looked at it. I'm wondering if others have. I've read the whole resolution, but the last charter which set this up. So you'll remember the first charter we had for 5 years set up a situation where the council had zero ability to not only appoint, but zero ability to even communicate with departments. And what we found is that the county manager was too powerful, and also that there was a lack of checks and balances. And so the second charter 10 years ago set it up the way it is now, which, as Dave Summers correctly pointed out, is basically the way the commissions work. The reason I raise all that is the last charter, however, was vague at best on a lot of the language, which I think is what Tony's getting at. So the county council adopted a resolution 10/2013. Thank you, Tony. It's like we're mind synced here. That set up that described that relationship. I still find it ironic, and I asked the question of the county manager, and he said, well, because we didn't need it to be adopted. It's not in law, it's a resolution. And so I think, and I've said this before, that entire resolution should be added to the charter, frankly. But I think there needs to be a much larger discussion. And maybe we started at this committee and bring it back. I mean, maybe this committee comes in with a recommendation to make the manager elected and throws that on the table and sees what happens. But it's part of a bigger discussion. And so I don't think we can adopt this motion at this, or this change at this time, without having that discussion.
Okay. Janet, and then David.
So I'm just going to talk to practicalities. If we're going to entertain elected versus appointed of the county manager, that is going to go beyond the scope of June. I mean, that is a bigger discussion, and I'm all for that. It's not going to wind up. That is a bigger discussion. So if we want to tackle that, that's great. That is a bigger discussion. And in terms of this particular resolution, Tony, a lot of this I see in terms of, as you know, the school board situation, the superintendent's role versus what the school board's role is. This is the superintendent making a recommendation to the school board either agreeing or not agreeing. But to Kevin, if we want to open this up, this is a big, hairy ass discussion that we're going to have.
Oh, no.
Strike it,
Sorry.
strike it.
And no, I'm all about that. But it's just like, if we want to do this, this is not going to end by June 8th. So if we want to tackle it, all on board with that, but this is not going to happen before June 8th, because it's going to be us talking about it and then taking the CRC, which is going to be a bigger discussion.
Okay.
I will now lower my hand. By the way, Jane wasn't here for me to fully disclose. I've had 2 glasses of wine before I came onto this meeting, just because I'm on vacation. I'm lowering my hand now.
Oh, great. David, and then Jane.
Yeah, for the minutes, I wanted to know, who was it, Jane or Janet, that said hairy ass? Which one of you was it? I want to make sure it's.
That was you.
No.
That would be the one. That would be with the T. That'd be Janet.
Who I
Janet
got? No,
That would be a
seriously.
hairy ass discussion.
We want to see that in there.
Yes,
Not twice, he said. So
Okay.
I
I
am proud of
suggest-
that, actually.
I suggest we follow the procedures that were established at the very beginning of this whole charter review process. We had assigned the various subcommittees particular issues. The subject of elected versus appointed was assigned to the subcommittee headed by Maureen C., elected versus appointed. And we debated this issue, and we decided not to recommend that the county manager be elected. So what I suggest is the waters over the dam or the horse out of the barn, whatever, it's been decided. We have a process that was established in the last few days by Olivia and Kevin and whatever, that we have this, we're going to send to the full committee our recommendations of changes that we have voted to propose to the full committee for final resolution. What we also decided was if we discuss things and we decided not to take action, that those are put off until the end. And if there's 5 people that vote to bring it to the commission, full commission, we do that. And I suggest we follow that procedure, and there's no role that should be undertaken at this point in time by this committee on this particular issue. End of story. I think we just look at what this 4.20 and what has been proposed and decide on its merits. Standalone discussion.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Jane, then I will look hopefully directly at this amendment and address this. Jane, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wow, David, I'm impressed. Holy crow, that was, yeah, wow, that was very definitive.
You think?
It's like, hey, you close the door on that, man. That's not like you. But anyway, no, listen, Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to hear a motion on this issue, actually, because I agree with what David has just said in terms of what our chair of the full CRC was encouraging us to establish, in terms of outlier issues and having those raised subsequently. So I'm okay with that. This is a comment just for you guys that I'd be prepared to make in the full CRC. I am tiring of the whole time is of the essence thing. Okay. And I'm going to I'm just putting my hand in the sand here on this and saying, there is no way that our Justice and Equity Committee is going to be done in time for June. It's just not. And so I'm feeling kind of uncomfortable, frankly, about the time pressure that we're putting ourselves under. I think there's a very, very important practicality there. And I think where we can achieve things being on the ballot in November, let's go for it. Let's go for it as fully and fast as we can. Let's do that as, as diligently and all the rest of it. There's some things that aren't going to get there, in my opinion, and maybe everybody disagrees. I'm not sure, but I just think I think we really need to be thoughtful now. But I do agree with what David just said, and this isn't something that was an issue at the beginning, and so let's see how this vote turns out. And yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Did I hear you say, do you want to hear something?
A motion, if somebody wants to put a motion on this proposed amendment.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll hear that too. Tony.
I might have misunderstood you, Jane, but did you say that this was a new issue? Because since the beginning of this whole conversation, I've been talking about the ambiguity of the relationship between the county council and the county manager, and the county manager or the county council having a kind of a dual responsibility. So I've been saying that from the beginning. So I apologize if I sounded as if I didn't say that before, but I think I did. And this issue may be a big discussion, but I thought that when you review a charter as what we're supposed to be doing, you review the charter. And I get it that some things maybe are a bigger discussion. I get that decision. I'm not attached to any positions on this one. I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to review the charter and what do I see in the charter. And people that know me well know that I'm a person that looks at things thoroughly, and I'd like to make sure that we come up with a decision.
Okay. Mr. Chair, can I just respond to that? Because he directed a question to me but go ahead.
I have 2 more hands raised, and I'd really like to move forward, and because we have 2 more amendments to get going. Is that let's hear Dick and then Janet, and then if we have some time, Jane will listen to you. Thank you.
My sense is I've heard a consensus on this, so I'm just going to push the issue and make a motion that we leave the language as it is.
In the charter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Kevin just seconded it.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
There's,
And then all I was gonna say is, Tony, I don't think it's the discussion about the amendment. I think when Kevin was bringing up the elected versus appointed for the county manager, that's what I think Jane was referring to. That's a bigger discussion. And I do support what Jane is saying, that I feel like this may go beyond June. As long as we make it once a month meetings going from now until December versus every
Point of
week.
okay,
order.
so there's been
Point
a,
of order.
yes. Okay, so there's been a motion to leave the language as it is in the charter. So it is to not adopt the proposed change to section 420. Is there ready for discussion? Any discussion about this matter? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of adopting this amendment, raise your hand.
Was that the motion? I thought it
No,
was.
no,
drop
that
it,
wasn't the
drop it.
motion.
The motion was to
The motion is to leave the charter language as
Okay.
is.
leave the charter language as is in this matter. All those in favor of leaving the charter the same as it is
On this section.
on this section, yeah.
Although to Jane's point, we could
Yeah.
be done really quickly if we just
Yeah.
full charter.
And Janet, are you all those opposed? Okay, Tony is opposed, and Janet, I don't see.
I have
Oh,
no
you-
opinion. I've had 2 glasses of wine.
Okay, so you're
Literally, I should not be voting on anything at this point.
but you're not
Chip
abstaining.
stains.
I'm
Oh, you're not.
abstaining.
Janet, you're
I'm
a lightweight.
abstaining.
I know you really well, and that sounds like more than 2 glasses.
No, literally, it's only been
But
2,
you're not
Kevin.
abstaining.
It's really, and by the way, Jane, it's really hot down here. It's
Yeah.
really
Okay.
hot. And
Thank you. Motion failed, or the motion passed. Okay,
Mr. Chair, will you mute Janet?
no, I'm muting myself.
slur. Okay, let's move on to section 4-4.40. Again, dealing with the county manager.
Okay, hold on, let me find it, please. All right. Okay, in this section, 4.40 talks about the county manager. I thought it was a little bit too wordy for what, if the county manager is reporting to the county council, we only need really a couple of sentences in this whole section. And I propose that we strike all of the stuff that I've struck in red and just keep the other items as balanced. So this thing will read that the county council shall appoint a county manager directly responsible to the county council. The county council shall, by resolution, establish the county manager's contract or terms of employment, including compensation and so on and so forth.
Let us, I'm trying to read it and you're reading it. Maybe we could all pause and just read it. Is that okay?
Sure.
I'm sorry, Tony. I wasn't at the same pace with you, so.
English is my third language, so I don't know why I would not be in the same.
So we I see 2 hands, Janet and then David.
So, ooh, wait, the language went away.
You want it back?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So Tony, a couple things. Jane sent around other charter home rule charters, and a lot of this language is in pretty much all of them. There are a couple things in here that I think are actually important. One is he or she need not at the time of his or her employment commences be a resident of the county. I think that's important. And I actually think the employment of a county manager shall not be construed as changing the relationship of the county council members or other related officials to their constituents. I think that's so that people know that even though there is a county manager, the county council is actually responsible to their constituents. So people as in the community do not think, oh, I need to appease this person versus I need to really actually be in contact with our elected officials. So I am actually not as concerned about making these changes, but that's just me. And
Okay.
I'm now going to mute myself.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Janet.
I have
David?
not had any wine. So I look at this as a solution in search of a problem. I'm not sure, Tony in previous proposals has talked about contradictory language, confusing language, all that. I didn't hear him say that about this. I heard him say it's wordy. And I don't think we want to play around with that issue at this point in time. We've got much more important issues to deal with than dealing with what is wordy or not. And the other thing is that I'll just mention a specific problem I have with this is that would be the optics. If you're going to remove, you're going to put to the voters that you're going to remove that the person should be selected on the basis of his or her executive experience and professional administrative qualifications, blah, blah, blah. To me, if I were looking at this fresh as a voter, never knew anything else about this background, I'd wonder, why are they taking that out? What's the agenda here? So I think there's not a problem. It's not a problem that needs to be fixed. And with regard to this, if it does stay as is, not the proposal, but the existing language, this issue of a resident of the county or state at the time, shouldn't we add something about that they have to become a resident of San Juan County within a certain period of time? Because otherwise it looks like they could be the county manager and live in Seattle. So I think, and that's I would propose as a significant change rather than just to cut back the number of words.
Okay, great. Thank you. Olivia, Dick, and then Kevin.
I guess I don't really understand why. So that's what I would love to hear from Tony is you're a very smart individual. Tell me what you're thinking. Why?
Let me
Tony?
just say, so throughout the charter, we've given the responsibility of the county council to be in charge of things. We've said in certain sections that they're in charge legislatively. In other sections, we've said that they're in charge executively. We've also said that the county council should appoint the county manager. Does it really matter to us? Are we going to micromanage the county council of what county manager they're going to appoint? Or if the manager is going to be a resident of the county within 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, or they don't have to be a county resident before they get appointed? To me, that just seems to be unnecessary. If we're giving all this authority to the county council to appoint management, it seems to me that we should also say, well, yeah, you appoint who you feel is responsible and able to work. And if they get here, they get here. If they don't get here, it's your problem, not our problem as a constituency. And as far as the last sentence, I don't understand. I mean, I get the point that Janet made, but I don't think that it's really important to state, because we already know that the county council is responsible to the community. Hardly anybody that I know actually calls the county manager for stuff. Most everybody that I know calls their council members for their island, or they call the department they need to deal with. So I don't think there's any ambiguity in the county that, you know what, if the county manager doesn't, if we don't, anyway, so that's why I think that this is a little bit too wordy, but I'm open to the criticism of this edits, and I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, can I ask one more question if that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess it's more of a statement. So thank you, Tony, for your explanation. I completely understand. And I I really feel like this is a way deeper topic for us to discuss than, yeah, I get it. I understand, Tony. With this, I would support keeping the first area that you were striking, Tony. I also agree that the bottom sentence is a little unnecessary. I would also really support gender neutral phrases throughout the entire charter rather than he, she. I think that with our current world and being PC, that if we decided to go, through our charter and be a little bit more gender neutral, that might be supported by the voters.
Okay, thank you. Dick and then Kevin.
Yeah, I think all of the language, the existing language adds value, and I wouldn't support removing any of it.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
A few things. One is clarification, Tony. The red line strikeout is your only addition. That section in the middle, is that an addition or that's already there?
That's already there.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would propose that we keep all the language as is for the reasons that were stated. And again, Tony, I have the same feeling on this one as the last one. I think you're making a good point, but it's part of a much larger discussion. And I don't think we can piecemeal this. That said, I would actually propose, I will wait, but Olivia stole my main point, which is I was going to put a motion on the table that everywhere in this where it says he, she, we change it to they or their. And that is actually a motion I'd like to put on the table, but I'll allow this discussion to continue, recognizing that officially I think we have 1 minute left in this entire meeting.
No, the agenda I sent out dealt with it said till we're gonna go 8:30 tonight. I think I said that in the email as well.
Yes, in the revised agenda, yes.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was up higher in your email box.
Janet, send me some wine.
So we and hopefully we can also address the thing with miscellaneous appointments after we can get to that as well if we decide to move on for this. Is there any comments? David?
Can I make a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, I want to make two motions, but the outcome of the first one will determine the second one. So do I want to make both of them at the same time or
No,
one at a time?
you have to do one at a time.
Yeah, no, that's what I expected. Okay. I move that we do not adopt any of the proposed changes that in 4.40.
There's a motion to not adopt any of the changes in 4. Okay, there's a second. Okay. There's been a motion to not adopt any of the proposal changes to section 4.40. Open discussion. Any discussion on this matter? I can't see on all the faces, so I'm not seeing any. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Tony. Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor of not adopting any of the proposal language in the proposed amendment, section 4.40, raise your hand. Okay, so what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Janet, can you see Janet or can she?
I'm voting for the motion, and Dick is frozen.
Okay.
But Dick's pretty much frozen anyhow in life,
no.
so we
Dick,
can't.
We
can't address that.
Yeah. Dick, can you maybe if you can't get unfrozen, can you text us in chat your opinion on this matter?
Smoke signal.
It doesn't matter. He's voting no.
There he is.
There he is. Okay, so
Can we do it again?
yeah, let's do that again. All those in favor of not changing not changing the charter in this matter, all those in favor of not, what was the motion? I'm lost. All those in favor of,
That Janet.
Oh my God, even I can recite it.
I know.
Leave it as it is.
Yeah.
Leave it as it is. No change.
Okay, all those in favor, not changing the charter in this matter, raise your hand.
As proposed in this particular case.
Not changing the charter as proposed in this particular case. Raise your hand. We have 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Janet, where you are, your hand is raised in support.
Thank you.
That's right. Okay.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But 6. Okay, 6. That is
Wait a minute, 6 and 2. No, 5
all
and 2.
those in favor, all those in favor of the proposed amendment.
Who is
Raise
So
your hand.
Tony
How about-
and Olivia, they're voting against it or
Yeah.
abstaining.
Oh.
Abstain.
Abstain.
So Olivia's an abstention and Tony's voting against it.
We haven't been asked about any opposed, so.
I was calling it.
Yeah, I was opposed. All those opposed. I thought I asked that. Yeah. Okay. Great.
So it's what, let me get it right. 1 opposed, Tony, 1 abstention, Olivia.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. Now,
Tony knows me too well.
I mentioned that I had another motion. Can I make that other motion?
Uh, yes.
Okay, I propose where it says, after it says no member of the county council shall, no, I'm sorry. He or she need not at the time his or her appointment commences be a resident of the county or state. Then I would add wording to the effect, and I'm not proposing I draft it right now, but to the effect that within 3 months of appointment, 6 months, whatever, I'll propose 3 months of the appointment, the new county manager shall establish residence in San Juan County and maybe even become a registered voter, but establish residence. in
Okay.
San Juan
Jane.
County.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, and I'm not an expert on this by any means, but there are certain things that are outlined in the county code. And things that are outlined in the county code need not be stated in the charter. And that is one of the things that I believe is in the code, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't think that level of specificity is necessary for the charter. But I see Kevin's got his hand up. So anyway.
Kevin, and then I'd like to move on to the miscellaneous appointments.
I think the intention is well made, David. However, there can be complications. Our very first administrator, a full-time administrator, not our temporary one in this county, could not find housing and was literally bouncing around for 6 months before they finally got a place. And in that situation, it would be, my point is there can be complications. So I would move we do not, well, it doesn't look like you have a second yet. So
Wasn't a second.
yeah, so if there's not a second, it would just fail anyway. But I wouldn't be supportive of the. I think your intention is well made, but there can be complications that would make that.
Let's just move on. There's code and there's intention, and let's just move on.
I don't agree with Jane regarding if it's in code, it doesn't have to be in the charter, but we don't need to go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we do. No, just kidding.
Okay, we have 25 minutes left, and I think we have one more proposed amendment, and then if we can talk about the spreadsheet a little bit, that'd be great. So let's look at section 2.60, miscellaneous appointments. We've had something written up by Kevin Ranker. Kevin, would you like to share with us what you wrote?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
Dude, you got to put it up on the screen, man.
Okay.
While Kevin is looking for it, may I say something, Mr. Chair?
I'm not
Please,
even
Tony.
looking for it, so somebody else better.
Tony, please.
Yeah, thank you all. I know we presented, I don't know, 6 or 7 amendments possibilities, and I appreciate your grace and indulgence. And I appreciate all your input. You're all, you're very wise and smart. So I just, like I said to you earlier, I'm not really, I don't have any horse in the race or a dog in the fight or whatever the language is.
In the game.
Yeah. So I appreciate your input, and we'll move on. Thank you so much for.
So as Kevin's looking for that, I will say that Tony is very thoughtful in everything he always presents, and he doesn't do it with any sort of agenda. So Tony, thank you for bringing this to our attention. And it's skin in the games, what you're looking for.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Enjoy your third wine.
I wish.
God.
Okay.
Okay, just for the public who's actually watching this, I
There are
actually
17
am.
people on the Zoom, Janet.
I know.
There are
I
more,
am
and
the.
more and more. It's
I'm
going
the
viral.
fun commissioner. Just saying, I'm the fun commissioner.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I can, Mr. Chair, I can share my screen. I've got 2.60 miscellaneous appointments.
Thank you.
Right here, if you'd like.
Somebody else has shared it already.
Okay.
Oh, okay, okay,
Done.
Yeah.
okay.
So
Oh, Olivia, it
Now
was like a race. Great. Thank you, Olivia. Kevin, please.
Yeah, so as I've raised with this committee and actually with the full CRC in the very beginning, this came up from a number of people who have either served on committees or never heard back from committee appointments and so on. And so I feel very strongly that we need to clarify this. And so this change does a few things, actually. One is it makes sure that the council will actually take action on any applicant. So right now, to be on any citizens committee in San Juan County, about 5 years ago, they adopted a policy where you have to fill out a form, and it's not a complicated form, but you take the time to fill out a form and express why you want to be on a committee and why you want to participate and what you can add, how you can add value and so on. And I've heard from 3 people who filled that out and never heard anything. I've also heard from one person who was actually appointed and they never heard anything. They did not know they were appointed until they literally, somebody said, "Hey, I saw your name on the county website," and they looked and they were on the committee. There's also supposedly, the training that we went through on open public meetings and all sorts of stuff. That's supposed to happen for all boards and committees. When I asked Mike about that during his presentation to us, he said it was, but I know 6 members now of different committees I've spoken to, and 3 of them were appointed recently who that did not happen. And then the other thing, the third thing is making sure we address diversity of membership and representation. So this does 3 things. First is that it requires the county council to vote up or down. Oh, the other thing I'm also very aware of is on a number of occasions, there have been people who've applied for a position and one council member doesn't like them. That's way too strong. One council member chose that they didn't want them on that committee. And so they buried it. It was never discussed again. It never went anywhere. It never came up. They were kind of in this limbo purgatory for months and gave up. And so this does 3 things. One, it requires the county council to take an up or down vote. And this is just like, we are the only legislative body I'm aware of in the country, frankly, that I've researched that doesn't do an up or down vote on appointments like this. And so it requires an up or down vote when somebody fills out the application. So they would come in and they'd say, we have 2 vacancies. Here's the 2 people we're appointing and these people we're not appointing. It's not like they have to say, we don't like you, but there's a vote where that person's name would come forward and be on a list. The second thing it does is it requires that everybody gets the notice of their appointment and the education required for that position. And then the third thing is that we shall attempt to ensure that all boards, committees, and commissions maintain a diversity of membership that is representative of minority populations, sexual orientation, gender, and gender identification. So that last line, frankly, I think we should be adding to anywhere we can. But with regard to our appointed committees, I think that it being expressly stated here is really important. So there's the 3 things this change does.
Thank you. Jane? And then Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I very much support what's being put forward here in terms of amended wording to this section. I would like to say that based on a recent sort of interview, so to speak, I had with Kathy Obenhaus, who is the chief examiner of the Civil Service Board of our county that's responsible for the staffing of our sheriff's office. I learned that the three people who are appointed to that board as citizens of our county are not under obligation to undergo any training whatsoever. And she shared with me that there is this opportunity to attend annually a conference that is quite educational for commissioners of this board. And the first time, and she has been serving in this role for 17 to 18 years. And it was only the first time that individuals were appointed to this, citizens were appointed to this board, that anyone was interested in participating in this annual conference. And subsequently, none of those citizens who are commissioners on this board have been interested in receiving any training whatsoever, which flagged to me a really major concern that if our county wants to be intentional about training people who are appointed to these kinds of bodies, that's really, really important. The language that is being proposed here to me captures that, frankly, quite importantly. Also, I think that the language that is being proposed here that says the county council shall attempt, I would even go so far as to say the county council shall make an effort, because, and as the work of our Justice and Equity Committee becomes more understood by our commission, we must be much more intentional about issues of diversity in this county. So I don't like the language of attempt. I prefer stronger language that says make an effort. So I'm definitely in favor of an amendment along this line. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dick, and then Janet.
Yeah, I support the whole intention behind this, but Kevin, I think you left out a couple of the issues that you raised in explaining why you want this, and I think they're important. And this is not the exact language, but I would say something in the beginning that the county shall discuss and then appoint or reject. And you made the perfect point about one commissioner letting it be known he just didn't want this person considered. And I think if that's the case, they may talk behind the scenes, but then they got to do it in front of the public. They got to come up with some reason and have some discussion. And I think that needs to be in here. The other thing that you raised that isn't in here, and I think should be, is that every applicant has to be notified. I'm one of the people a number of years ago who had that experience of applying for one of the appointed positions and never hearing anything, not a word, and then reading in the newspaper sometime later who had been appointed. And it's just rude.
Yeah. Thank you. Janet?
Well, I'm all about manners, so I support what Dick had to say. Actually, Jane, I was going to go even stronger in that last sentence, that it should say the county council shall ensure. I would just say not even attempt, not even, they shall ensure that all boards will maintain a diversity. I would go even stronger than that. And that's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you. Kevin,
Thanks,
and then
Janet.
Olivia.
Okay, so whose screen is this that we're looking at?
I think it's
Fine.
yours.
Yours, Olivia?
Olivia's, yes.
Olivia, can you type into that? If I made a couple edits right now and that's on the fly.
Oh, wait, now we're not in mine.
Yeah, it's mine. It's
Okay.
mine. Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
Kevin, what can we type for you? Or what can I?
If it said the county council shall publicly discuss and appoint or reject all applicants for boards, commissions, committees, and commissions by public vote. So after shall, it shall say publicly discuss.
Okay.
Before appoint. Appoint is still there. Just put in publicly discuss, comma.
My
I don't
Like-
think you can do this because it might be PDF. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
this
it's a
is-
The
PDF.
PDF.
It's a
So-
PDF, so.
So,
It's not a PDF. It's just in the, it's not downloaded onto your computer.
No, it's PDF,
The
Kevin.
PDF.
Yeah,
Look at the
it's a
top of the
PDF.
screen.
you sent it to me as an email and I put it into a PDF form to send out.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I will try and find it.
Dave, are you seeing my hand up?
yes,
Go to
Uh,
the further conversations and
I-
I'll try and.
yeah, Olivia, it's Olivia and then Tony and then Dave.
So
It's not working here.
Here, Dave, can I share my screen? I've got it now.
Please, let's see.
You have to stop sharing.
So Kevin, you can make changes to your own document.
Yeah. Can everybody see this?
should I wait?
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay. I like where this is going. And I think that this would be a very difficult change for our county boards and also for our county council to try and live by. They would have to make some very serious adjustments. Let me talk about how I'm the only person that is a quote unquote young person on this commission. The only reason why I'm on this commission is because I am lucky to have a job where I am salary and I can step away. If the plan is to become more diverse, have there be more of an attempt or whatever you end up putting in the words for this, for people to be a part of that are maybe the working class, because that's a part of being diverse in county government. There are going to have to be some major changes. For example, not having things Monday through Friday between 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 p.m. at night. So I love that this group was willing to be, doing things later. But if the hope and plan is to move into a place where you can have more diversity, that is something that the county council is going to really struggle with, because they don't want to change the way that they're doing things. And there is major pushback within tons of the committees to change the timing to make it equitable. It's unbelievable to me. And it's very sad because, again, I support this 100%. Whatever we end up coming up with for wording, I just don't know if we are going to actually get support for this once it's, say, it gets voted in and people are like, yeah, let's do that. But the actual practice of it is going to be pulling teeth. And that makes me so sad. I wish that our county was in a place where they were actually ready for something like this. So if we're going to start, you might as well start now so they can adjust for the next 10 years.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Kevin, it's your proposal, and then you have a edit, and then Jane, and then David, and Janet. I think that's the order.
Good one, Kevin.
What?
Never mind.
Kevin's busy typing, so.
Kevin, busy typing,
Yeah.
okay.
So I made the proposal. Here it is. It says, the county council by action shall publicly discuss, and appoint. That gets to Dick's point. And then I took out down below, the county council shall ensure. I just changed it. I took out the attempt. The reason I had attempt was that I happen to know that it is difficult to get people to run for boards and committees. And some of
But
our
that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine. I would say the county council shall ensure and accommodate that all boards, I would put accommodation to go to
no,
Olivia's point.
okay, that's a separate point, is the add accommodation, and I
Yeah.
like that. What I'm saying is, if we say shall ensure, I think we're setting ourselves up for failure just because some of our boards and committees will not be able to recruit diversity at times. And so what do they not meet? So I'm going to be quiet and let other people comment on that.
Yeah, I commented on it previously. Sorry, Mr. Chair, can I speak now?
Yes, Jane and then David.
Yeah, that is why I said make an effort, or that was the language I was proposing previously, because I realized that it can be, it will be challenging for reasons Olivia has referred to, but also Kevin as well. And I think ensure is very strong language. I think also though, while I really appreciate what Olivia said and have kind of lived and experienced that in my time here on Lopez as well. We need to be, I mean, the public needs to be flexible and accommodating to people's different situations and diverse situations if we want to be inclusive. And here I'm speaking, you know, from a lot of experience, professionally and also personally. I think what this requires is stretching ourselves. And so what I observe in this county is a hell of a lot of really intelligent and bright and experienced retired people running boards and commissions and all the rest of it, not for profits, and you know, you name it. And I think if we want to be better informed by the lived realities of people day to day, we need to stretch ourselves. And I'll go back to, I am reminded of Bill Apple on our board, on our commission rather, who did not want meetings later in the day because he gets tired. And I respect that as a gentleman of his age. But Bill has stepped up, and Bill has found a way to sort of, you know, rally. And I really respect that, and I mean that. I just think that shouldn't be a reason we don't try to be diverse and inclusive. So I think we've got to push the envelope. Otherwise, we will continue to be what we are. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, David. Please.
Couple of things, Kevin. I think you need to address Dick Kraut's suggestion in the second sentence. It says, once appointed, all citizens will be provided notice. It should say, delete once appointed and say all applicants will be provided notice of their appointment or not appointment. I think that's the issue, is that everybody needs to be notified, not just the approved individual. A second thing about this diversity concept, I think it's great. We need to do this, but two things about it. Number one is it possible that this is already under consideration by the Justice and Equity Group? Because if it is, I think we should not deal with it separately in this particular section. We should have a comprehensive section or wording that deals with the entire county and its employees, not just this particular issue of the boards. It should be the same thing for everybody, and it should be in one place instead of being diverse or dispersed across the. And then the second thing about, it is a challenge, and Olivia and Jane have pointed that out. This is an issue that's very hard to deal with in a county that is about the most undiverse county in the United States. How do you apply this general concept, which is a national concept and works in diverse communities? How do you apply this in our community when we are so undiverse? It's appalling how undiverse we are. So how do you really deal with this? And I suggest that it be dealt in one place and by the Justice and Equity Group. If they have it already, maybe we do it, but it should be in one place, not separately all over the place in the charter amendment. Thank
Okay,
you.
Janet, thank you. Janet, do you have something?
No, I was just gonna say, I like what Kevin has adjusted in the shall work to ensure. And I think, David, to your point, it's not to maintain a diversity, it's to maintain diversity and membership that is representative of our population.
Yeah.
So that's different than, just maintaining a diversity. Is whatever is representative of our population should be represented on these committees, which I agree with. And thank you, Kevin. I think what you put in there, shall work to ensure, is great. And it's 8:28. That's all I'm saying.
8:28. I'd like to get this, if we can get this wrapped up. And I also want to look at, just refine what we will be talking about in terms of.
Dave, I've had my hand up for a while and I haven't been recognized. Are you not
Tony,
seeing me or something?
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Please.
No, I mean, there are some people with their hands up, but I've had mine up for a while, but I'm just wondering if you're not seeing me or not, or what.
No, I'm
ahead.
not seeing you. I'm sorry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to try and be funny. I'm completely opposed to all of these amendments to this particular section. Just kidding. I like
That's funny.
I like the language. I think it's pretty good. It makes sense to me.
Hilarious.
It makes sense to me because I think that's one of the issues that we have in this county charter, that there are some gaps in it that need to be plugged. And this seems to me like a very good place to plug a gap that's there. And I'm sorry that I missed that one when I was looking at the charter. But thank you, Kevin, for bringing this up. It seems like it's fair wording, and with the edits that I see, we're on the right track. Thank you.
Okay. Kevin, please.
I can wait if others still want to comment,
Okay.
because I want to try and close debate.
Okay. Jane?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to respond to what David was saying. In terms of what the Justice and Equity Committee is working on, and also based on my own professional experience, what this does in terms of including this kind of language in certain places reinforces some fundamental principles with regard to the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so there, in my view, and I would defer to the membership of our Justice and Equity Committee on this. In my view, having this kind of language in certain places is absolutely fundamental to ensuring that these kinds of principles are upheld. And it is consistent with resolution number 31, 2020, that was passed last year, which was a resolution, but not an ordinance, and certainly not something embedded in the structure of government of this county. And so I feel very strongly that we need to be very mindful and purposeful of including this kind of language and in certain places in our charter. And I also, David, I take your point very, very respectfully. I totally take your point that we are not a diverse county. And I have spoken with people who are executive directors of not-for-profits in my district who are working very hard to diversify their staff and their boards, as hard as that is. But it is absolutely important. And so that's thanks, David, for raising the question.
Dick, thank you for waiting.
Yeah,
Froze. Can we
I just
see
wanted to
everybody?
point out, Kevin, you changed that applicant.
Oh,
You can't see me.
We can hear you now, Dick.
Can I just make my point? David's out of order. Okay, shall be notified of their accepted application and the council's final action. That's one of their problems, that applicants
Oh.
don't find out what happened.
Hey, Dick, you want to call me on my phone and I'll just hold you up to the mic here?
Even with my video off, you can't hear me?
You're pulling a Jabba the Hutt right now.
Can you put it in
Oh,
text?
shit.
Hold on, Dick.
Yeah,
I love that all we heard was shit. Dick, I'm calling your home.
While we'll move on to David and then Janet.
Well, what Dick is trying to say, there's no provision as drafted by
I
Kevin to
can't-
deal
I
with
can't
people who
believe
have
you
not
leave
been
my
appointed.
video off. It doesn't work.
Well, now
So-
we can hear you on the video, but why don't you hang up on the video and I'll put you on my phone on speaker.
Okay.
Okay. David, 1 second, please. Let's go listen
I'm
to what
waiting.
Dick has to say. Yeah, thank you.
I'm waiting.
Dick, go ahead.
Okay, so what I was saying is the sentence that says all applicants shall be notified of their accepted application.
Dick, I'm sorry. Can you speak up?
All applicants shall be notified of their accepted application and the council's final action.
Okay, what he said is he believes it should say all applicants shall be notified of their accepted application, comma, and the council's final action. If I can, Mr. Chair, my response to that would be, I believe the next sentence addresses that. Because I think it's two things. One is when they're an applicant. And so we're saying that we want the applicants to be notified of their accepted application. And then the next sentence reads, once appointed, all citizens will be provided notice of their appointment and so Dick, to your point, I understand what you're saying. What if it said notice of their appointment or rejection?
Yes.
It's the people who didn't get appointed.
Yes.
And never hear anything.
Okay.
Makes sense. Is that what you were going to say, David?
No.
No. Okay.
Dick, did that change it made? Does that address your point if I say appointment or rejection?
Yes.
I feel like
yes,
we're in a Christopher Guest movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dick. David, let's hopefully we can.
I need to,
I heard what Jane said about having this diversity language in various places where applicable. I'm fine with that, but make sure it's the same wording, because if different subcommittees try to include this language, you're going to end up with potentially contradictory language. So it should be the same language everywhere. And maybe we just take what comes out of the Justice and Equity group and plug it in here rather than attempting something that may be in conflict. And the second question I have is a bit of a monkey wrench. Should we put something in here about term limits? Because I was surprised to hear that somebody said that there was a person who's been on the Salary Commission or the Civil, whatever it was, Commission or Board for 18 years. I mean, that's just astounding. And nobody knows anything about this board. And I know there's a problem with getting volunteers. It's a big, big issue in filling positions. That's probably what Kevin was going to say. But it does create a problem when somebody wakes up someday and said, somebody's been doing this for 18 years and nobody knows it. They're not accountable because nobody knows who they are.
Right.
So this is an issue that could be considered as a further amendment to this section. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Janet and then Kevin.
So I just want to know who the person has been for 18 years on some committee thing. And I just want to I'm going to make a motion that we accept this as a proposal or an amendment that we'll put forward as being amended every 13 seconds now, but whatever it is now, I make a motion that we approve this to move forward as something to bring to the CRC as an amendment.
Second.
Okay.
okay.
Open for discussion. Kevin. please.
Okay, I think I've addressed everybody's points, and if the motion is that we're moving this forward as a charter amendment recommendation, I would support it. I think that's what the motion was. I was a little unclear.
Yes, there was a motion and a second.
Okay, so the last thing I added, Dick, the way I had put it in before, it didn't flow right. So I added another sentence here that says, any citizens not appointed shall be notified, period.
Fine.
Okay, so that's in there too. So excellent. So I think, oh, and Olivia, the other thing, I added age. I was thinking about, I really appreciate your point.
Kevin, stop. Just, we got it. Let's just, there's a motion. We read it. Thank you.
Good. All right, cool. Call the question. Go.
No. We have discussion.
No discussion. So,
Yeah.
see Janet, see David, Dick,
No,
no discussion or your hands down?
my hand's down.
Okay.
And my hand's down.
um,
I just haven't put it down.
Okay, Jane, please.
I take my hand down. Apologies.
Okay. David, further discussion?
I'm going to abstain unless the last sentence is determined to be the same wording as is coming out of the Justice and Equity Subcommittee. I think it has to be exactly the same way, the language. Somebody just mentioned age. We don't know if age is in their wording or not. They could have things in there that we don't have, and we have things they
And
don't
by
have.
the way, Kevin, you have gender, age, and gender identification, which is great. I think we move forward and then we tweak this when
Oh, here it is. Here's the final.
diversity and equity.
Okay, guys, yeah, I think,
Jane, go ahead.
sorry, Mr. Chair, we do need to ensure that we're consistent in our language. And when we get the final language of the anti-discrimination clause we're proposing, we can just refer to that clause, okay?
Thank you.
So
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
I think we just hold that for now. But let's just,
We move it forward as is. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
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 And one more thing, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I think the point that David made is really important. And that is the issue of term limits. And I want to be clear that when I talked about somebody being in a position for 7 to 18 years, that is the chief examiner of the Civil Service Board who is appointed. Okay, it is not, and it is someone who applies for the position, and she's continued to apply. Sorry, I don't even believe, I apologize. I don't think she's appointed. She's a member of the staff of the government. Kevin's got his hand up. I see that, but she's not the same as a citizen who's appointed. Having said that, the citizens who are appointed to the Civil Service Board are appointed for 6-year terms. But correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, I think those term limits might be code related. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's, okay, I don't know. Anyway, I'll be quiet.
Okay,
That's all.
Kevin, you, and also, can you read the proposed amendment as it states right now, and then
We'll
maybe we
read
can
the
vote on it then?
proposed amendment, and we can vote on it, and then we can discuss term limits for 2 seconds, because we already have term limits in the county, but I think it's actually a bad idea. So the county council by action shall publicly discuss and appoint or reject all applicants for boards, committees, and commissions by public vote, except otherwise provided in this charter. All applicants shall be notified of their accepted application. Once appointed, all citizens will be provided notice of their appointment and education regarding their duties, responsibilities, including on matters of justice, equity, inclusion, and diversity. Any citizens not appointed shall be notified. The county council shall work to ensure that all boards, committees, and commissions maintain a diversity of membership that is representative of minority populations, sexual orientations, age, gender, and gender identification.
Great.
Okay.
Call for the question.
Would you call the question?
Wait, sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry,
Yes,
one
Jane.
question. Once appointed, comma, all citizens or all appointees? Because informing all citizens of notice of their appointment, yes, of course, but, and education. So I don't believe we need to inform all citizens of their,
Well,
Changed.
I can't-
Applicants, I agree with applicants will be notified of their appointment.
Good.
Okay,
okay, thank you.
so the question's been called. All those in favor, let's see, one second, let me get this. Let me get everybody there.
And
Oh,
then-
all those in favor of putting this language into the charter, or moving it forward to the full CRC, raise your hands.
I,
I,
Subject to final clarification of that language to be consistent with the anti-discrimination clause we'll be proposing.
that's not the motion.
Okay,
Okay, so I-
Janet?
I'll put that in the minutes.
Janet, how did you,
The motion
I'm
was
voting
to
yes,
accept this.
yes, I'm voting yes.
okay.
Yes,
Motion's been
yes.
accepted.
Yes.
Are there any opposed? Any abstentions?
And but,
Abstain-
and by the way, Jane, your language will take precedence over everything. So it doesn't really, I mean, I want to say it doesn't matter what we're saying, but what you're coming up with will take precedence over all of this.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, no, I hear you.
Motion passes. Thank you. There's one last matter I'd like to discuss a little bit before
Here,
we end up. Yes, Kevin.
I'll be very fast. We already have term limits. They were put in place to basically destroy our Marine Resource Committee and our Agricultural Resource Committee because there were very qualified people who were there and actually getting big money to do projects that the county council didn't like. So they put in term limits to get them off the board. I think term limits are a bad idea. I wish we didn't have them, but we already have them.
Okay, moving on.
Thank you for coming. So I'm looking at our list of things that we're going to present to the full CRC, of issues that we believe that should go forward and to be proposed as amendments. And looking at our spreadsheet, I see that we have currently 1, 2, 3, three, and then possibly 4 in terms of the transfer of the bureau, the Visitors Bureau to the county. So what I see that we have is add the executive authority, the concept of executive authority in section 2.10, that the legislative and executive authority of counties shall consist of 3 members who are qualified for office as provided by this charter and state law. That was the first one we agreed to. The second is to expand the list of names and of administrative departments responsible to the county council. And there we replace the sentence in 4.10 with administrative departments listed on county website shall include the county manager and all other departments not managed by an independent elected official. Okay, we're still going forward. And then number 13, we addressed who's doing the budget. Transfer the management of budget process from auditor to county manager. And what we came up with is the auditor shall be responsible for initiation and preparation of the budget. Auditor shall do so in consultation with the county manager. Okay, and let's see where. And then we have the then the one we just passed now. I don't see it here. Where is it? Dealing with boards, commissions, and committees. We agreed to the language that we just put forward. And then maybe we will mention that we are looking at bringing the tourism, bringing up something of sustainable tourism to the full commission. We will not recommend it to be voted on, but we hope to listen to it and talk about it on our next May 9th meeting, or May 6th meeting, excuse me.
Sure.
Kevin, please.
I would just change that wording a little bit. I think I get your intention, but I would clarify that we will likely be voting upon it. It's just that we wanted to hear, we are still researching and some final information, and we will be back to the commission shortly with that recommendation, but we will be making a recommendation on that subject.
Okay. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one we're going to probably 5 that we're going to come back to the commission for. And those are the issues. Are we comfortable with all that?
Dave, I have my electronic hand.
I'm sorry.
up.
Yes, Dick, please.
I could be wrong. It's been a while, but on number 13, I thought the wording we agreed to was that the county auditor shall do so in collaboration with the county manager.
I think
Which-
the wording we used was consultation.
Did we?
I think that was,
I actually very deliberately used consultation when I recommended it. If it was changed, maybe I'm missing that, but I thought we were using consultation. I thought that was what.
Yeah.
the decision
I
was.
raised the point because I think consultation is weaker than collaboration, but fine.
I'll look at the minutes.
yeah.
I would propose that we say consultation.
That's what I thought where we went with it, but the minutes, we'll consult the
I
minutes.
can, as I said, I could be wrong.
Okay, great. Olivia?
I have one last 11th hour thing. I'm sorry. So I don't even want to bring it up right now because it's almost 9 o'clock. But I know that we had talked about in the full commission meetings that if there was a support from 5 people, blah, 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 we don't need to go over that again. I'm sure that what I'm going to bring up will have support of more than 5 people to have gender neutral language throughout the entire charter. So that is my proposal to bring up to the full CRC if it's not wanted to be discussed here. So that if it's not being covered with justice and equity, it is great. Then I remove my suggestion right now in 11th hour and move on if justice and equity is going to bring it up.
Thank you, Janet and David. Then David. Janet, are you here? She is muted. Janet, you are muted. We'll go to.
I'm here, sorry.
Okay, great, thank you.
I think this is great. I wanted to say for the public who's watching, we are the most fun committee ever. And by the way, we're also the smartest committee ever. So whoever is watching this on your YouTube thing, we are super fun and super smart. Everything that's coming out of this is like
Your
super
balls.
smart. Okay, David is now going to speak after me. Do not listen to him.
I want to make a
David.
motion. I want to make a motion that we appoint Janet as our social secretary, recreation
You
coordinator.
know why?
And
Because
she-
I'm fun.
Your chair. I want to make her chair.
I'm super
Hey
fun.
now, I already
I-
already been appointed Sergeant of Arms.
Okay, no.
I am now eating snacks because I'm so hungry right now.
Oh my God.
This is a super
You have
fun,
the munchies?
Hey,
super
hey,
smart,
You have the
smart
munchies?
group.
All right.
mute
I
her,
just wanna say,
please. Mute
Dick
yourself.
is totally left. He's not even listening anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't even know what that icon
You
is.
get
It's like,
it.
what?
Get it.
Okay,
Just 'cause you're not on the
Okay.
school board doesn't mean you need to totally lose your.
okay.
Yeah. So we have
Yeah.
one more person with their hand up. David, please.
I want to finish. Kevin, I expect you to write a nasty email like you did this morning, reprimanding people who interrupt to Janet. Anyway, I'm going to take this spreadsheet, just so you know. I will take it, Dave, since I created it and I maintain it, and I will condense it down, eliminate the ones we aren't going to present, and add some columns or delete some columns to be more consistent with what was presented by Patty last night, which I thought was a very, very concise way of presenting things. And there's a lot of stuff on here that's not necessary for purposes of the presentation to the entire committee by our governance committee. So I'll do that, Dave, and pass it on to you, hopefully maybe this weekend.
Great. Thank you, David. Jane?
I just, I wanted to thank David for, just suggesting he can do that. That's awesome, because that's what I was hoping we can see, right? And that can be sent out to us before we, advance to the next stage. And I also want to say thank you to our awesome chair and Dave, you've been awesome. And thank you for guiding us and corralling us and herding us. And thanks everybody.
Thank you, Jane. And Janet, do you have a comment?
Yes, I always have a comment.
Yeah.
So I would like to make a motion that we end this meeting at 11 o'clock tonight. No, I'm just kidding. I make a motion that this is the end of the meeting.
Okay, first, I want to say thank you for everybody for shrugging through this. I really appreciate that. This has been a lot of fun. And I look forward to hopefully working with you, the full commission, and we will set up a meeting for May 6th and deal with tourism then. So thank you everybody for coming through.
Dave, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I
Everybody.
would like Dave to take over as chair of the CRC.
Yes.
Now.
I'll bring out the mirror ball. Great.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.